Well, hello everyone. This is Robin Carter with Robin's Creations. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator out of Flower Mound, Texas, and today I am here to share my first set of alternatives using the July 2025 Paper Pumpkin Kit named Sweeter With You. Before we begin, let me thank all of those who have subscribed to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your subscription. I really appreciate your support. And if you're new to my channel or have yet to subscribe, I hope you find some inspiration to subscribe to my YouTube channel, as I'm getting really close to 5,000. I think I need about 60 more. So if you can help be a part of that, I would be so grateful. All right, let's switch to hands down because I have some alternatives to share with you. And I also like to share the next set of paper pumpkins. Didn't hit the button. Okay, so here's hands down view. So if you missed this one, maybe there'll be some refills later on. The full kit refills, if there are any available, usually don't show up until about 3 months later. But anyway, I hope you did subscribe to this kit. Going on now is the subscription period for the August. It's called Farmhouse Florals, and it also will include an additional stamp set. Now this usually only happens in March, which is the anniversary month of Paper Pumpkin, but it's good to see we get a little more bang for our buck with the August kit having an additional stamp set. Now I also want to point out that the directions for the July kit says 9 cards, but right here in my printout it does say makes 8 cards, 2 of 4 designs. So that was just a misprint in the instructions. We knew all along this was going to be 8. It does say here for August it's going to be 9 cards, back to our 3 of 3 design. So I know some of you have been concerned about that, so I just wanted to point that out as well. Also, if you do not already have these add-on dies, I think these are a great value. The item number 167277. So there's something in here to coordinate with each of these kits. However, I tend to use them in any of my paper crafting, even the ones from I think they started this last year where it's quarterly. So they're good to use all around any of your paper crafting needs. All right, so let me put this away. And here is the cards as designed, and as you can see they're beautiful as designed, but I like to stretch my kit, so I'm going to start with this strawberry card base right here and an envelope. If you make them as designed, you can get 7 cards using 1 card base and 1 envelope for what I'm going to show you today. So I did run across some more new of my 5x7 favorite thing envelopes, because a lot of mine, as I said in my unboxing, I did leave several of my supplies at my parents' house, which I will be headed there later this week to help out again. But I wanted to get some alternatives for you guys. Didn't want to leave you hanging just with the unboxing. So I have still a half a card base left, so just to show you what I used, there's a little flower. So we're going to cut this into 3 strips. Now I do this a lot and then kind of just switch up how I use them. So since this is 4 1/4, you'll get 1 at 1 1/2 and 2 of them at 1 3/8. So that's how I get my different sizes. And so to start with this, you're going to need a thick white card base, which I normally use. Okay, I have the strips pre-cut here. So you can see I've only made 1 as designed. Got stuff sticking all over. So I just want to double check that I told you correctly. So that one's about 1 3/8. And this one's about 1 3/8. So after I cut off 1 3/8, I just stick it in my trimmer and cut them in half. The second part, so you can see here, well, those aren't the connecting sides, but I probably used it in my card. So we're going to get 3 strips, so I hope that explains that, to save me from having to bring my trimmer out. And then I also trim the tops to 5 3/8. I like for a little bit of white to show, as you can see here, all around my pieces. So let's just grab one of these. I'll put this back up. Okay, the next thing I'm going to use is a piece of Poppy Parade, which is a coordinating color. Now, I originally cut this to about 3 inches by 5 3/8. And then I took my fancy border dies, and of course the one I use is over in my trimmer. Let me go grab that so I can show you a trick using that. Okay, this is the die I use, and you know, it's what's that called? Symmetrical shape, so there's no different design, but I like to get my cut kind of equal on both sides. So once I get it lined up, I kind of look at the back. Let's see if I can line this back up and get about the same there, and then I put washi tape so I'll know where to end my next one, so I don't have to worry about it. Now also that helps if you were going to do the flip side. Same thing, you would then be able to line it up, and it should have the same sort of symmetrical design on both sides. So I did just use one side this time. Let me stick this on a magnet so it doesn't disappear on me. Things tend to like to walk out of my craft room. So it just helps me with that. These fancy border dies are current, and they are 165380. Now, I also like to point out any retired products that might help you, because we all can't have it all, or at least I can't. So there were some elegant border dies, and also the Eden set, which came out of Celebration a couple of years ago. Really any little fancy edge die to helped here. Now, if you're a person that doesn't have a big shot or dies, you could just tear this along to get kind of a roughed edge there. That would also help decorate this card. Okay, one more thing I wanted to bring in was my strawberries are stuck. Just a piece of basic white. So I wanted this to go over this for my design, and this is 2 3/8 by 4 7/8. So again, 2 3/8 by 4 7/8. And then I brought across this neat little die. It's called Friends with You. I'm looking for it. I thought I brought it over here. Okay, well, I was totally wrong about that name. It's called Pattern of Friendship. And so this is a neat die. It comes as a bundle, but this die alone gives very nice texture, as you can see here. Does that show at all? Let's see. That helps. Anyway, you can kind of see better maybe here with the steel die. The item number for just this die is 165384. Now also, let's see, I think last Celebration there was a die that just kind of did some stitching. So any type of die like that would help, or you can just go with the plain white piece of paper here. And so we're going to adhere that down to here. My little fine tip glue bottle found its way in my tote that I took to my parents. I'm going to actually, since this has dots in it, I would prefer either glue dots or a tape runner. Now this is my old 3M tape runner that I've had forever, that I have lots of refills for, so I'd like to use what I have. Of course, Stampin' Up! Does sell some nice tear and tape if you are looking for some. Well, tear and tape would work as well. My words are getting messed up. It's called Stampin' Seal. Okay, so there is that piece. So also you want to make sure that you put your card base where the longest side is on top. You can see here when I run my finger, it tends to grab this one and not the back one. So you want this one to be your front in case just a hair shows over. I just find that gives your card base a cleaner look when it's like that. So whatever your strip is, make sure this piece will cover, you know, you won't see white like if it was too short. I mean, it still looks fine. So if so I just wanted to mention that in case you use a different die, you may have to adjust the size of this Poppy Parade. I don't think I said that that was the color that is coordinating. So let's glue these down. Let me make sure I'm not missing any steps before I glue down. I generally like to do the whole card and then glue it to my card base, but I think I'm good on this because I didn't add any ribbon. Okay, find my little multi-purpose liquid glue is my favorite when I don't need a, that's got a little sticky thing on the, making it not go. Let me see if I have a paper towel. I don't want to get my fingers too sticky yet. It had a little dried glue on it. And then I'm going to put this right along this right hand side of the card base. Now I do like to pick it up to do that so that I can automatically have my fingers ready to get kind of equal border around the top, bottom, and side. So I think that looks good. And then once I get it where I want it, I give it a nice little rub to help spread out any little bumps of the glue. And then I'm going to glue this down as well. Now I'll give you an option later. We could put this up on dimensionals, but I'm going to put the goodies that I put on top of this on dimensionals for this card. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to leave a little border around the left hand side just so it's kind of symmetrical all the way around. Okay, so now we get to decorate the card. Now, I love the little strawberry stamp and the add-on dies, but let me show you what I like even better. So we had these little baskets, right? And of course, we only have so many of them. I don't remember how many. So I went in and made, as part of my cut file that I like to share on my Etsy shop with the sentiments, and I also did more baskets because we're going to need several of them if we're going to make these alternatives. Now, since this wasn't a stamp, a die, or a punch, I figured I had permission to make this just like I do the sentiment cut file. So how I did this is I wanted it to look similar to that. So I grabbed my little extra clear blocks. So let me grab one. So I saved these clear blocks that we get in kits to use as like a color palette for my blending brushes. Now I usually also just do it on my glass mat, but for you guys I like to show you an alternative if you do not have a glass mat. Plus I don't do my videos with a glass mat because it is so reflective. So I just get one of these. And the coordinating color was Pool Party. So you can either, I don't know if I have a spot out. I don't have a spot out, but you can either take your brush directly to the pad, or if you have just a spot, you can just kind of put a little bit of ink there on your pad. And then I get my blending brush and I work it really well around the block, just kind of to get a smooth piece there. Let me also see if I have a piece of scrap paper. I do here, just something I had worked with. And gently just set your brush down to get the ink flowing. And then you can swirl along. Now I'm going to try not to swirl my desk to make you dizzy. Let me see if I can do this on top of the block. So it doesn't swirl my desk around and move my camera. So just a very light color to make it kind of look like the one that came in our kit. And if you need more ink, maybe I still have some on my block here, or you can always, let me get this back in camera, tap, work the ink, and then bring it around. And I like getting a little more around the edges, and I'm going to do that with my sponge dauber. So let me get my little sponge dauber and let's give this some accent of the outside. I'm not going to worry about going inside those little parts there. You know, it may also be cute to cut this like vellum, and then it would really look like it was a clear container. Okay, so there is the basic shape of our little what is that, a tray for our strawberries. But I also wanted to add this little strip. So I have the markers. This would also work with the blends. And then we just need a ruler. I'm going to use my T ruler. Not that I have to, it doesn't have to be a T ruler. It could be any ruler. And I'm going to do this on my block just so I don't mess up my grid paper. So let me get this out here more for you. You want to kind of line that up. I can use my grid paper here to line up my tray, although it may not stay. And then take your ruler and go just below there, because I'm going to add it just like it's there. I'm going to use the brush tip, and I wouldn't go like this, okay, because our tips are dainty. You want to maintain your tip, and plus I wanted a wider strip, so I just did it on its side to add that strip. And look, we did pretty good. I mean, you can tell this is printed and this one's inked, but I think it looks pretty close. So that's how I'm going to make a bunch of extra baskets for my cards. Okay, and then for the strawberries, we do have the dies. The add-on dies does have the strawberry in it. Well, it's on that sheet of paper that I showed. But I tend to like the strawberries with no border. So it does help to start your strawberries as the die, right? Because then you just have a little bit to trim off. But then I did those borderless. So there's no white backing around my strawberries. Now I've done 3 here. I did the same thing with the stems for my strawberries. Is I did those with no border. I just thought that it made it more realistic. Now I did use a little detail die on each of these and go in and punch those slits. My goodness, this is so small. I don't know how I'm going to show you. Can you see the slits in that? Well, you can really see it on the back. Here's another one where it cuts the slits of the leaves. And then I put 2 little glue dots on each side so I can attach it to my strawberry. I did 2 of those already just so I could save you on time, but I wanted to show you how I did these. And this is stamped in Garden Green, which was our ink spot. I really wish they would have, I know we've had Poppy Parade in the past, but I thought that would have made more sense to give us Poppy Parade. Now there are some pink strawberries in this kit, and I thought that wasn't very realistic, but I googled it and there are actually pink strawberries in this world. So I did not know that. So I learned a little something. You know, paper pumpkins can also be educational material to learn new things. So to get these on here, you can either put little glue dots, tear and tape, or double-sided adhesive, and I'm going to go with my double-sided adhesive for speed for you guys. And then I just start building my little basket or container of strawberries. I hate to hide so much of it because they are pretty. Now, also with the add-on dies, you know, you can use those as well. You see, I have those over here. Okay, so the add-on dies punches. This is out of Poppy Parade. Let me set that down. And it does punch these backings. Now, I love strawberries, and a lot of people are putting black behind there, but actually the seeds are more of a yellow, but I really didn't like that either. So I just went with the stamped ones. I probably would go with black, even though some could have black seeds, but they're more of a yellow brownish look. I even Googled that too to make sure it wasn't just strawberries in my area. But here's our little basket, and so we're going to set it here. But first I want to add a sentiment. Now I actually used the one in the kit, so I'll just have that one as extra. I wanted to add a sentiment, and I really liked putting it on my container there. You could either stamp it directly on there. I'm always afraid I'm going to mess up, so I like to use one of my cut files. Now I did get this made, and it's not posted yet on my Etsy shop. I hope to do it after this video. So you can pick the one that makes the most sense to you. You can do a thank you, or this, let me do this sweeter with you. Let me show you. So I made these in several different sizes. So let me just start with this one. So that's the biggest border. Now we do have that in our kit. I made one with a smaller border. Let me put this on my, so the bigger, medium, and then I did one real close. And I kind of like it to the best on this one. So just like that. Now this one's kind of icky cut, but there you go. So all these sentiments will be in 3 sizes, except the little strips, because they need more room, the strip ones. Okay, so let me do the sweeter with you. I have those all lined up in my Stamparatus, which is my stamp positioning tool. You can see your strawberry will turn pink-ish. That doesn't damage your stamp. It just shows you loved it and used it. The red colors tend to do that. You know, I need to do an updated video on just my new stamp positioning tool thing to get things in the center. This is a 3-ring binder, in case you're new to my channel, a 3-ring binder divider that you're able to write on. And so I cut this down to 7 3/8 by 7 3/8 to fit in my Stamparatus. This would also work in the Misty if you want that. And then when I have 2 different sizes, I put the smallest one on the bottom and then the next bigger one on top. So, and I don't think I did the sweeter than you. The sweeter than you may or may not be in 3 sizes. It was kind of hard to make getting around that S. Okay, so the hardest thing to remember is make sure that's in the corner. And then I did want to use my garden green for the sentiment, just to add a little more of an additional color. Now, what helps with your plates here on the Stamparatus is a ink pad works good, or a stamp case, the normal like DVD type stamp cases, to help hold that plate up. Again, make sure it's in the center. And then stamp. Let me grab a drink while that ink is soaking in to the paper. Okay, that one got a little speck on it, so let me clean that off. This is a relatively new thing that I've added to my favorite thing. So it's like a paint trimmer thing, but it has this fuzzy stuff on it. And you can spray it with Stampin' Mist. I just reactivate my Stampin' Mist that may be on there with some water, and then it's real easy to clean all of your stamps on a stamp positioning tool. So let's see if that got rid of any fuzzy. And the good thing is I can just grab another. I cut a whole page of these at a time so that I have them ready to go. Just have to find the right ones. Here they are. I'll get a couple out in case I mess up again. Okay, so let's set that in there. I don't like any fuzzies on my sentiments. Now with my cute little cat over here, I'm sure there's hair all over the place, even though you vacuum a lot. And it tends to stick to sticky things like these photopolymer stamps. By the way, I did go to the dermatologist, and that's why this spot is kind of icky on my hand. They freeze dried it, and that's also why I have this band-aid on my face. So I should have covered that up with a band-aid, but I forgot to do that. So in case you're watched me before and you wonder why that's so red, it's because they took the dry ice to it and froze it. Okay, so which is my good sentiment? That one's pretty good. We're going to put that here. I'm going to put it on top of my basket. Now, like I said, you can stamp directly on there. This is my better one. And that might actually look better, like it's see-through, but anyway, I'm going to go with this. Just put a little bit of liquid glue on there. And put Life is Sweeter with You. And then I'm going to put this up with dimensionals versus my whole layer. So let's grab these. You can see that was when I first did it. It puts the strawberry image on the back when I line it up. Cut another line. I do cut the big ones in half. And if you're afraid your strawberry might come off, you might want to put it, well, it's sticky on the back now, your dimensionals more over the bottom of them where it attaches to the container. I'm going to add a center one right there. I'm going to move this one, if it'll let me, to half on the strawberry and half off. Okay, so let's remove these backings. Okay, and I'm going to put this in the center. Now, I still thought it needed more, so I love the little flowers with the stitching in them that are also part of the add-on dies. So I want to put a few of these around. There are also several flowers in our kit, and the one I'm going to show you that's finished, I did use the ones in the kit. Where's my little goodie bag with all the little flowers? Okay, now these, let me show you these that I already have done. These, I put a little dot of Daffodil Delight cardstock in there, but I also want to point out some things that are current. So there are some yellow embellishments. Also part of that, which is a pretty good deal, are these loose frosted dots. So you can see there's yellows and all kinds of colors that if you're not finished with the last kit, I think these are like Pretty Peacock that would match the last kit that we had Pretty Peacock with. So you could put those on a flower. I'll do those on my second alternative, but I'm going to use these that I have since I already have them done. So just, you know what, I'm going to use a glue dot just so it doesn't, any ink doesn't seep up through the slit. So here's some glue dots. Let's see, I have to use this tool. My take your pick is, you know where. It's not here. I'll be sure to bring that back when I come back from my parents next time. Now where's the other flower? That's a plain one. You guys probably see it. There it is. It's under my glue dots. So we're just going to add 3 of these around to give it a little more decoration, and it kind of matches those little flowers on the card base piece. We could put more, of course. I'm just going to go with the 3 right now. And then if you can always add embellishments. I'm going to show you my finished one where I added some look like dewdrops on there. So this is the card done with the flowers from the kit. Now I did put these up on dimensionals. I guess I should have done that. You can always pull those up real quick, especially since it's just a glue dot and I could add a dimensional. Let me see if I have some around, and if it tears your paper, just set it right back down on the same spot. I love dimensionals. It always makes everything look better. Just adding a little dimension to the card and interest. You know, I want that flower to go upright. And these are the mini glue dots, which you may have some left from your other paper pumpkin kits as well. And then one more. I do like to have one made so I can see what I did different. Okay, and this one does have a container that I made myself, and it's really hard to tell. Just, I mean, it is different. So there's my first card. Now, like I said, you could make 6 of these with just one card base. So same design, just cutting that off. I've only made these 2. I will for sure make the third one, and since we only have 2 card bases, I may hold off using the other half in case I come up with something else to use. So let me put all these back. I like to store everything in these little things. So see, I see you have this half. That way it keeps all the components for that card in there. So let me clean off a little bit, and I'll start with my last one, which we're going to use the envelope. I do like to use the envelopes like DSP as well. So let me grab that out. Okay, this one's quick and easy. How are we doing? Okay, 30 minutes. We're doing pretty good. This one's quick. So a thick white card base, of course. Feel for which side is bigger. There's just an extra strawberry I made. I also bring in a embossed piece that's 4 1/8 by 5 3/8 ish. Now that one's full size, so let me trim that real quick. Okay, you guys didn't need to see me cut that, so I cut that out of the video. But so this is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. I do like to emboss my 3D embossing folders with a full quarter panel of 5 1/4 by 5 1/2, and then trim it down, because the embossing folder, you know, the raises in the paper can shorten it. So that way you don't get one that's a little too short if you cut it to 5 1/8 and then no 5 3/8 by 4 1/8, and then trim it, do the embossing, and it's too short. So I like to do the full size there. I'm not gonna, and then of course I've cut the envelope off. Now one thing I messed up on my last set of alternatives using the envelope with the June kit, and I know what I was trying to do and I didn't do it. So just take your envelope and cut off 1/4 inch off each side. So you don't have to cut that little sliver anymore, because there's plenty of use. And if you do that, you can see here, you get almost an equal size of the curve. So do that. If you haven't done June yet, that's what I meant to go in and tell you guys was just take 1/4 inch off each side of your envelope, which will then allow you to open it and cut off the flap. So we're going to put that here on the side. You could weten that. I'm just going to get my multi-purpose liquid glue. Now, I would generally use my fine tip glue bottle, because you want to be real sparing on the glue with envelope paper, because it is so much thinner. You don't want your little glue to show. So do a little thin stripe. And since this is kind of white, I like to bring in something. Usually my silicone mat would work. Now you can decide you want it all the way to the side or some to show. I can see my bottom is just a little bit longer, but I don't think that's going to matter once we get it on a thick white card base. Yeah, that's not going to be too bad. Okay, and then we want to make another basket. Now I will use the one that we just made, if I can get the right folder out. You know what? I have one made here already with some strawberries. You know what? This one, sorry, I wanted to do something different, because I thought you guys are going to be like, I got to make how many strawberries? So this one I am doing a little different. I wanted to use some more components from the kit. So I'm going to bring this circle in. Okay, I'm also going to bring the strawberry that was pre-done for us in as decoration, and then more of these flowers. Now again, here are the ones from the kit. I'm going to use some of the ones that you can dye yourself, because this card doesn't have a lot of interest, and I thought the little stitching on the flowers gives it a little more interest. So I should have 5 somewhere. Here's my 5th one. Okay, now another thing I like to do is I store all my little embellishments. I cut them up, and then I put like yellow in a yellow folder. I have one for blue, whites, purples. So I had these. Now these are Bumblebee, which is a retired color. But look around your stash. Maybe you have these. Also, the frosted dots has yellow in them as well. I'm afraid to open this and it go all over my desk. So see, it has some pretty yellow ones, even shiny or frosted. Those look nice on the flower as well. You know, those look so nice. I'm going to use those. So let's find some little glue dots to add those. So these already have adhesive. The frosted dots do not. And so I just really like the shine of that all of a sudden. I try to show current stuff when, even though I have lots of stuff in my craft room. Let's see, is that one? And I'm okay if it's a different size. That one's a little smaller. It shows variety in the flowers. Okay, I think that's fine. Is this one real shiny? They're all frosted once you turn them over. They look shiny on the back, but then they're frosted when you turn them over. I wish I had my take your pick tool. It's in at my parents' as well. So I'm going with what I have here. And we'll put a big one on this one. Those really reflect the lights nicely. It's the first time I've used these. They are on the last chance list, so or are they? Well, anyway, they're still available. Actually, I don't think they were last chance. If they are, then get them while you can. And let's look for another. That one's teeny tiny. That one's too little. Okay, there we go. That gives this card a little more shine and bling. But like I said, you may have some yellow. There is yellow available online that is current as well. But I like to show you kind of what I do to keep things organized. These will go in my yellow folder. And when I'm looking for something yellow, I can grab that folder. Okay, we do need a sentiment on here. So let's see how this works. I'm going to do a nice big thank you. I don't know what they did, but I'm going to put the thank you, and I'm going to do it a little to the side because I'm going to put my strawberry on the side. Okay, I think that looks good. So let's put the magnet down there, and then hopefully I don't have to move my stamps. Let's see, what color? Should we do garden green again, since that was what was included in our kit? We'll go for that. If I don't like it, I can always put a cut one on top. Let's see, am I in screen? I try to zoom in as close as I can so you guys can see what I'm doing here. And stamp. Now I always find the paper in the paper pumpkin, it's not our smooth white, so sometimes I have a hard time stamping with it, and I hope that's good. It's not. And if you get your magnet too close, then it's hard to press as well. So I may have to do this again and move my magnet out of the way. You know what? I'm gonna have to go with that. Now here's a tip. So see how that's not fully inked on the U? If you have the markers, you can go in oh so carefully. Let's see if I can do this on camera and kind of fill in those little spaces so it doesn't look like you misinked it. So I may have my head in the camera, but I got to get close. So see, much better. I just went in and filled those in with my marker set. Okay, nothing stuck. Sometimes when I lose things, it's because it's stuck to the back of my Stamparatus or something. Okay, we're going to go with this strawberry here. So let's just put some glue dots since I have them out. I have some bigger glue dots. Let's just put it here on the end of the or side of the label. Now this was in our kit, so I like to try to use everything in the kit as well. So put your strawberry there on the side, and then we have our flowers to decorate. Now I forgot to do this before I punched it, but if you have a Stampin' Pierce mat or even an old insert from the block storage things, this was the largest one. I like to get that. Let me see if I have one more flower somewhere to show you. I think I've used them all. I'll show you on one that's in our kit. And you can do this as well. So you can take something, a blunt tip. Our Stampin' Pierce mat has a stylus, and there's a fat end. And then just carefully, okay, here's the flower. And then you press, and that kind of bends up the flowers. So I should have done that to these. So I'm just going to have to manually kind of curve them up like that. And so that makes them more like a little petal. I have a little delay in the video on my screen, so hopefully it's not that way for you. But let's put this up with dimensionals. I'll have to check that out before my next video. If there's a little bit of delay, I apologize. Now, if you don't have that bling, what I was going to do, and I decided not to do it since the, make sure your strawberry will fit on the card. So let's put this on our card base first so we can make sure we're not hanging off the card base so it fits in our envelope. Okay, that's good. I'm glad I thought of that before I stuck that on there. Okay, you want your strawberry not to hang off, so make sure it'll fit in there. And then we can add our pretty little flowers around. Just going to give them, oops, all a little curve. Okay, and then we can get glue dots. So I'm going to need the smaller glue dots, not these larger ones. This size will work. Let's put it on the bottom and start putting these around. What I was going to say is I was going to put this ribbon behind as well. Now this is on the last chance list and it's a little discounted. It's called Silver and White, the item number 162149. And if you do my ribbon saving technique, what I do is I just trim off like that much and then glue it behind there. That might still look good, but this one, I might try that on another one that I do. This one I'm going to go with these nice shiny little flowers. They're so cute. Oh, I need a glue dot on there. This one I am going to do 5 because, like I said, it's a very simple card. So it gives it a little more interest all around. Okay, so let me get them back out again. So here is one that you can make with an envelope. And then, like I said, you can make 6 total of the first ones that I made. I'm going to make 3 and hold off and see if I come up with another design. But I hope you like that, and I hope you like being able to get additional baskets. for that. It's in my cut file on my Etsy shop. If you're new and have yet to visit my Etsy shop, there's a link in this video description, and I do appreciate if you use the link to my store. Etsy has quite a bit of fees for putting things out on their store, and it's a thing called share and save. And look at me, I did get my strawberry off. Let's see if I can peel this back up real quick. Okay, good. Now, if I do that, and I want to make sure the dimensionals have enough stick, I put a little dot there. Okay, this time make sure it's not hanging off your card. I can tilt it a little more that way. Okay, much better. I told you guys to do it and I wasn't that careful. Let me switch back to myself. I generally forget to do that. Okay, so thanks for joining me, everyone. I hope you enjoy these alternatives. I do hope to share another one. If I can get it recorded tonight before I leave, I will have that set to post probably Tuesday or so, because I have to always do a little editing, and if I record it tonight, I won't have time to work on that as I'm traveling tomorrow back to my parents' house. Hubby's here to take care of the kitty cat, so that's good. He'll be well taken care of. So thanks again for joining me. The best compliment you can give me is a thumbs up to this video. Share it with your other paper crafting friends and leave me a comment. I do appreciate those of you in my unboxing that wished me safe travels and praying for me and my family as we deal with some medical issues. So again, thanks everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hit that too soon. So until my next video, I'll see you again soon. There'll be a little link here to the unboxing and a way to subscribe, and also my online store is listed there if you do not have a demonstrator and would like to collect any of these products that I've shared with you today. Thanks again, everyone. Bye-bye.